So in today's matchup, we have Behemoth versus Kong. Now, in this matchup, Behemoth stands at around 385 feet, and Kong stands at somewhere around 400 feet as far as what I think he's going to be in Godzilla vs. Kong. And this matchup is very interesting for multiple reasons. The main reason is just because these are two very similar monsters, but the main reason why this matchup is so interesting is because this is a matchup that is actually possible and is actually very likely to happen in Godzilla vs. Kong. There are a lot of matchups to do on this channel. Most of them are not ever possible to happen, especially the Pacific Rim ones. But the very interesting thing about this matchup is that it could definitely happen. There's been rumors about Titans going to Skull Island, and if Behemoth does go to Skull Island and does bump into Kong, there could be a confrontation and they could actually maybe fight. So this is a very interesting matchup and is one that literally could happen in 5 months when Godzilla vs. Kong comes out. But as far as what Behemoth has going into battle, Behemoth is a kind of mammoth sloth type creature that has the long tusks and has the fireproof fur, which is in the bio, and is kind of just shows that it's pretty tough, and it walks on all fours, while Kong comes into battle basically not having any really weapons other than that he just uses the environment around him. He does have sharp teeth, which you really haven't seen be used, but with many other Kongs it's been used, and he can definitely use the sharp teeth to his advantage. And Kong stands on 2 feet, unlike Behemoth, who stands on all 4. And as far as what these two actually did in their respective movies, Behemoth has very little screen time, and really all you see Behemoth do is just walk around and take out a building with the tusks. But as far as Kong goes, there are a lot of feats for sure. Kong did have his own movie, but he definitely has a lot of feats. Kong takes out helicopters in the beginning of Kong Skull Island. You see a lot of different agility moves, jumping up, hitting the helicopters, throwing a helicopter into another one. Definitely a lot of agility there, jumping over one even in one scene. And later in that movie, he ends up killing a giant squid. It wraps around him, he rips the tentacles apart, squishes it, and then fights 2 school crawlers in a flashback scene at the same exact time, which definitely shows great agility and being able to fight multiple targets at once. And then at the end of the movie, Kong is able to kill the giant school crawler after a lot of different things went on. Did struggle with fighting the big school crawler, but also had to go straight from being drained by being attacked by napalm and went straight into that battle, no rest, but was able to eventually successfully kill the giant school crawler. As far as if these two were lined up, I really do think the way that this battle, since it actually could happen in the very next MonsterVerse movie we see, I think that the way this matchup would happen is Kong is kind of just on Skull Island, just minding his own business, and suddenly he notices a bunch of commotion, a bunch of different Titans walking around, coming down to the island. And in particular, I think it'd be awesome if Kong saw Behemoth walking towards him. They are staring each other down, they're both right around the same size, and Kong is obviously going to be territorial of his island, and Behemoth sees this big creature in front of him and sees him as a threat. So they charge at each other, and I really do think that the tusks for Behemoth will offer him a better defense in this battle. Really be able to keep Kong off of him, especially if he is right in front of him. But I do think the speed and agility would really help out for Kong in this battle, because he'd probably be able to go around those, get around Behemoth and attack him from whatever side he wants to. But I definitely do think that durability would go to Behemoth just because of that fireproof fur, and in particular, Kong, who was hurt by the napalm and fire in Kong Skull Island. Now that ability, he'll probably be able to endure that better with the increased size, but I have to give him that in that respective area. And I do think that Kong, with the speed and agility, definitely has the better attack because of how fast he is, and because he can use the environment, which is something that Behemoth cannot do. And that definitely gives him the advantage in that aspect as well. And obviously, feats has to go to Kong. Kong obviously gets feats. He had his own movie, and so it's pretty understandable and obvious why feats go to him. But seeing everything he was able to do in Kong Skull Island, I really do think if these two were lined up, obviously feats are on Kong's side, so that's really going to give him the main win in this fight. I know Behemoth is definitely more durable. Just from the bio alone, talking about the fireproof fur, that doesn't necessarily mean that Behemoth would be able to take Kong down, but these tusks would be able to keep Kong off him for sure to start. But at least from what we've seen, maybe Kong will be slower in Godzilla vs. Kong, but Kong will have the speed, so it would be very tough for Behemoth to keep Kong off him with those tusks for a long time. I don't know if the tusks would actually be able to have a good attack, They look semi-sharp, but I really don't think they'd actually be able to do any major damage on Kong. So I really don't know what other attack Behemoth will really have to offer. So I really do think ultimately that Kong will be able to jump around Behemoth. He's much faster, at least from what we know at this point. I think he'll be able to jump around, expose a weak spot, and ultimately Behemoth will really want to keep him in front of him, but Kong's going to go right around him and is too quick, and I feel he will be able to deliver a deadly blow to one of the weak sides of Behemoth and win this fight. So I definitely give the win to Kong in this fight. Realistically, if these two were just fighting in a realistic scenario, I would give the win to Kong, but in the movie's sake, I do think that Kong will dominate this battle, but he won't actually kill Behemoth in the movie. But make sure you let me know down below what you think about this matchup and who you think will win, or if you think this matchup will happen. Do you think that Kong will run into Behemoth in Godzilla vs. Kong? Make sure you let me know down below what you think, and thanks for watching.